A place where time and space don't seem to follow the rules, where compasses spin without cause, where aircraft vanish mid-transmission, where massive vessels disappear as if swallowed by the sea itself, a place where the known boundaries of science begin to erode, and where questions arise far faster than answers ever come. Here on Infinite Curiosity, we dive deep into this ocean of mystery. Because some questions aren't meant to be answered, they're meant to be felt. Ready to discover what the ocean might be hiding? Welcome to Infinite Curiosity, where mysteries aren't solved, they're explored, where the impossible becomes a question, because behind every secret lies a whole universe. What if everything you thought you knew was just the beginning? Also known as the Devil's Triangle, this loosely defined area of the western North Atlantic Ocean has become the epicenter of maritime folklore. It stretches between 3 points: Miami, Florida, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. But this triangle doesn't appear on official maps. The U.S. Board on Geographic Names doesn't even recognize it. And yet, despite its unofficial status, it occupies a permanent space in our collective psyche, a dark spot on the map where the ocean seems to claim more than its share. What is it about this region that draws so much fear and fascination? Let's journey back to the event that brought this mystery into the global spotlight. December 5th, 1945. Flight 19, a squadron of 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers, took off from Fort Lauderdale on what was supposed to be a routine training mission. The sky was clear. The sea was calm. The pilots were experienced. But 90 minutes into the flight, things began to unravel. Radio transmissions became increasingly garbled. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, sounded confused. He reported that his compass was malfunctioning and that they seemed to be flying in circles. Then came a chilling transmission. "We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We can't be sure of any direction." Shortly after that, silence. The Navy dispatched a rescue plane immediately, a Martin Mariner with 13 crew members aboard. But that aircraft, too, disappeared, without a trace. In a matter of hours, 27 men were gone. No wreckage, no bodies, just static on the radio and empty skies over the ocean. The case of Flight 19 remains one of the most baffling disappearances in aviation history. But it wasn't the first, and it certainly wasn't the last. Years before Flight 19, in March of 1918, the USS Cyclops, a massive naval cargo ship, was transporting over 300 men and 10,000 tons of manganese ore from Barbados to Baltimore. She never arrived. Not a single distress signal was sent. Not a single survivor was found. The ship simply vanished. President Woodrow Wilson later stated, "Only God and the sea know what happened to the great ship." Then came the case of the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a tanker carrying molten sulfur. In 1963, she departed from Beaumont, Texas, heading toward Norfolk, Virginia. For days later, contact was lost. When search crews were sent out, they found only a few bits of debris and a single life jacket. 39 crew members gone. Some theorized that the volatile cargo had caused an explosion. But even that wouldn't explain the total absence of wreckage. And those are only the official cases, the ones documented and archived. In reality, the list of disappearances is far longer, stretching back centuries. After a long and meticulous search, we uncovered a chilling catalog of unsolved cases. Among the most unsettling, a charter plane carrying 32 passengers in 1948 disappeared just 50 miles from its destination. The weather was fine. The pilot never reported trouble. It simply vanished from radar and was never seen again. The same year, another aircraft, a British Tudor 4-star Tiger, was en route from the Azores to Bermuda when it disappeared without warning. Radio contact was lost without a hint of distress. No wreckage ever found. In 1967, a pleasure yacht named Witchcraft reported minor engine trouble near Miami. The Coast Guard arrived just 19 minutes later. The boat was gone. No debris, no people, just silence. And in 2003, a Piper PA-32R aircraft vanished en route to Nassau. The experienced pilot radioed no distress signal. Clear skies, stable flight, gone. These stories aren't isolated. They are threads in a larger tapestry of maritime and aerial riddles that seem to defy logic. How can so many vessels and aircraft across decades in similar locations vanish without a trace? Some believe it's coincidence. Others suggest storms, rogue waves, or magnetic anomalies. But then there are the voices that whisper about something deeper, something beyond our understanding. To understand what might be happening, we must dig into the theories. Some are rooted in science, others in speculation, but each one reveals a piece of the puzzle. One of the most prominent theories is environmental, and it begins beneath the sea. The Atlantic Ocean, particularly in this region, is prone to sudden storms and swift weather changes. Ships could be overwhelmed by rogue waves, walls of water over 100 feet tall. They form unexpectedly and vanish just as quickly, leaving no evidence behind. In the Triangle, where warm tropical currents collide with colder air, these rogue waves could be far more frequent than we realize. Others point to massive undersea methane hydrate deposits. If these gases suddenly erupted from the seabed, they could reduce the water's density, causing ships to lose buoyancy and sink instantly. No time for a distress call. Aircraft flying overhead could experience engine failure if they pass through a methane-rich pocket. Then there's the magnetic anomaly theory. Pilots have long reported compass malfunctions in the Bermuda Triangle. Earth's magnetic field isn't uniform. There are places, known as agonic lines, where magnetic north and true north align. One of these lines once passed through the triangle. Navigational instruments might mislead pilots and sailors, sending them off course without their knowledge. We must also consider the Gulf Stream, a powerful ocean current that runs through the triangle. It moves debris swiftly, dispersing wreckage and making recovery efforts nearly impossible. A plane or ship lost in this current could be carried hundreds of miles away within hours. These natural explanations are compelling, but they don't account for everything. And that's where speculation begins to swirl like a storm cloud over calm waters. What if the disappearances are not just about the forces of nature, but something else entirely? Some researchers and theorists propose that the Bermuda Triangle may be a gateway, an interdimensional portal where the laws of physics twist and contort. They suggest that ships and planes don't crash, they shift realities. Some point to eyewitness accounts describing strange cloud formations, sudden fogs, or flashes of light before a vessel disappears. Others believe the triangle is a hotbed for extraterrestrial activity. UFO sightings in the region date back decades. Pilots and sailors have reported bright orbs, disc-shaped crafts hovering silently over the sea, and instruments going haywire in their presence. Could it be that some of these disappearances are abductions, a deliberate act of study, or something more sinister? Then there's the legend of Atlantis. Some believe the Bermuda Triangle covers the ruins of the lost city. Ancient texts describe Atlantis as a technologically advanced civilization that sank beneath the ocean in a cataclysm. If such technology lies buried under the triangle, could it be affecting magnetic fields or even drawing vessels toward it? Could the triangle be a lingering echo of a civilization we barely remember? And what about human experimentation? Declassified military documents have revealed a long history of secret testing across the Atlantic. The U.S. Navy once explored ideas like cloaking technology and radar invisibility. One of the most infamous conspiracy theories is the so-called Philadelphia experiment, where a ship was allegedly rendered invisible and teleported. Though officially denied, such experiments raise unsettling questions. Could similar operations have taken place in the Triangle? Each of these theories, whether grounded in science or born from speculation, reveals a common truth. The Bermuda Triangle resists explanation. It absorbs logic. It thrives on uncertainty. And in doing so, it mirrors the very depths of the human psyche. Because maybe the greatest mystery isn't out there in the sea. Maybe it's within us. Our need to explain the unexplainable. Our fear of losing control. Our obsession with solving what was never meant to be solved. And yet, we keep looking. Because curiosity never disappears. But maybe it's not about solving the mystery. Maybe it's about surrendering to it. The Bermuda Triangle invites us to do just that. To float, not just on the waves of the Atlantic, but on the sea of the unknown. It reminds us in a world increasingly mapped, explained, and digitized, some things still defy categorization. And that's a gift. Maybe we're not meant to understand every anomaly. Maybe we're meant to wonder, because it's in the wondering that imagination is born. Somewhere, out there beyond the horizon, another vessel may vanish. Another transmission may fall silent. And somewhere, a scientist will search for patterns. A skeptic will demand proof. A dreamer will trace lines on a map and whisper, "What if?" And you'll remember this story. You'll remember that the Bermuda Triangle isn't just a region. It's a metaphor, a mirror, reflecting our questions, our fears, our fascinations. Here on Infinite Curiosity, we believe that the most powerful truths are the ones wrapped in questions, the ones that challenge the edge of reason and pull us into mystery. So as we close today's journey, ask yourself, what draws you to the unknown? Why do you lean closer when the facts fade and the fog rolls in? Maybe the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle is not a warning, but an invitation to think deeper, to feel more, to ask again. Because in a world hungry for answers, there's something sacred about a question that won't die. If this voyage stirred something in you, if your mind is still drifting the currents of possibility, then you're one of us, a seeker, a wanderer, an explorer of the unsolved. We invite you to subscribe, not just to this channel, but to a mindset, a lifelong pursuit of what lies just beyond the visible. Because here on Infinite Curiosity, the journey never ends. And sometimes the most honest thing we can say is, we don't know, but we're not afraid to ask. So where shall we go next? Because in a world hungry for answers, there's something sacred about a question that won't die. If this voyage stirred something in you, if your mind is still drifting in the currents of possibility, then you're one of us, a seeker, a wanderer, an explorer of the unsolved. We invite you to subscribe, not just to this channel, but to a mindset, a lifelong pursuit of what lies just beyond the visible. Because here on Infinite Curiosity, the journey never ends. And sometimes the most honest thing we can say is, we don't know, but we're not afraid to ask. So where shall we go next? And everything that makes us ask, what if everything you thought you knew was just the beginning?